Have you realized yet that after 60, no one really wants your old stuff anymore? For many seniors, this truth quietly lingers in the back of the mind, but it's often pushed aside because admitting it can sting. The reality is simple. Once you cross this milestone, most of the people around you no longer care about the piles of things you've spent a lifetime collecting. It sounds harsh, but facing it directly can change the way you approach your golden years. Because letting go of stuff isn't about losing, it's about finding freedom. Welcome back to Journey After 60. In today's video, we'll dive into 5 harsh truths about decluttering after 60 that almost no one talks about. At first, they may feel uncomfortable, even painful. But if you sit with them, they'll help you release unnecessary weight, not just in your closets, but in your mind and heart. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, where we talk honestly about aging, legacy, and how to live with grace, even as we let go of what we once held close. So let's begin with the very first truth, one that may sound tough, but could completely transform the way you see your belongings. Number 1. Your children don't want most of your stuff. One of the hardest truths to accept after 60 is realizing that the people you love most, your children and grandchildren, may not want most of what you've spent a lifetime holding on to. For decades, you may have saved heirlooms, furniture, or collections, believing that one day your family would treasure them as much as you do. But times have changed. Younger generations live in smaller homes, move more often, and value simplicity over sentiment. What you see as symbols of pride and tradition may now feel like burdens to them. That doesn't mean your belongings lack meaning. It means that meaning is deeply personal. The oak dining table you bought at 40 may carry memories of countless family dinners, but to your adult children, it's just too large for their apartment. The shelves of porcelain figurines that once brought you joy may look like dust collectors to them. The emotional weight you attach to these things is real, but it's yours, not theirs. Psychologically, this reflects how identity and values shift across generations. For many seniors, belongings are extensions of legacy. But younger people, shaped by a different world, often value experiences over possessions. And when we expect them to see our things the way we do, it opens the door to disappointment. Accepting this difference can free us from resentment and help us pass on only what holds universal meaning, like a photo album filled with family history, rather than an entire china cabinet. My neighbor William, a 78-year-old retired teacher, once told me he had saved his entire library of hardcovers for his daughter. When she finally admitted that she preferred reading digitally and couldn't take the books, he was heartbroken. At first, but then he did something beautiful. He picked a single shelf of books that meant the most to him, tucked little handwritten notes inside each one, and gave those to her. She kept them gratefully. The rest he donated to a local library, a gesture that gave him comfort, knowing that others would still enjoy them. His story reminds us legacy isn't preserved through volume, but through intention. It's a bit like packing for a long trip. You try to bring everything just in case, but when the car gets so full there's no room to breathe, the journey becomes exhausting instead of joyful. That's how your children might feel when faced with a house full of belongings they didn't ask for and don't know what to do with. But when you accept this truth, something softens. You begin to see that not everything must be kept, that perhaps the better gift is to choose just a few meaningful pieces, ones that tell your story in a way they'll understand. This shift doesn't erase your memories. It elevates them. It lets your family carry forward the essence of your life without being burdened by the weight of it. And in return, you gain peace, knowing you're leaving behind meaning, not mess. Have you ever tried passing something on only to realize it meant more to you than to them? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else let go a little more gently. Number 2. The clutter you keep may quietly steal your peace. We worry so much about who will take our things, but rarely ask what keeping them has already taken from us. One of the most common myths in our later years is the belief that surrounding ourselves with everything we've collected will bring comfort. And for a while, it does. The old photos, the teacups, the familiar furniture, they feel like anchors to something solid. But over time, these familiar things can quietly become too much. What once felt warm begins to feel crowded. What once soothed now overwhelms. Psychologists have found that clutter isn't just a visual nuisance, it's an emotional weight. Every shelf packed with trinkets, every overstuffed closet, every pile of boxes in the hallway sends a quiet signal to your brain, there's more to do. Even when you don't consciously notice it, your body reacts. Your eyes dart across unfinished spaces, your mind can't settle, and gradually, this constant background noise becomes something else entirely: fatigue, irritability, forgetfulness, or a vague sense of unease you can't quite explain. But the effects aren't just emotional, they're physical too. Research on aging shows that excessive clutter increases the risk of falls and accidents. Extra furniture, old boxes tucked underfoot, tight walkways, these become hidden hazards. And for someone in their 60s or 80s, one fall isn't just an inconvenience, it can change everything. A broken hip, a long recovery, a loss of independence. Sometimes the emotional attachment to things blind us to the real risks they pose. And clutter doesn't just impact you, it shapes how others interact with you. Family members may visit less, not because they love you less, but because the space feels overwhelming. The living room where joy once flowed now struggles to find a clean surface, and the kitchen that once welcomed stories now struggles to find a clean surface. And without realizing it, the very items meant to preserve connection begin to create distance. By clearing space, you don't just create room in your home, you create room in your heart and in your relationships. True comfort doesn't come from being surrounded by everything you once owned. It comes from having a space that is calm, safe, and open. Letting go of clutter is more than tidying up. It's giving yourself the gift of peace and giving loved ones a place where connection can flourish again. It's easy to believe that something must be valuable simply because it meant so much to us. but emotional value doesn't always translate into dollars. Number 3. Most of your stuff is worth less than you think. One of the more sobering truths about decluttering after 60 is this: most of your possessions are worth far less than you imagined. Over the years, many seniors hold on to furniture, collections, or household items with the belief that one day they'll carry not only sentimental value, but financial value too. And then the time comes to pass them down or sell them. And reality, quietly but firmly, says otherwise. Think of that solid oak bedroom set you bought at 50. Back then, it symbolized quality and pride, something built to last. Today's buyers want light, modular furniture that fits small spaces and minimalist aesthetics. Antique shops are full of similar pieces, unsold. The demand has changed. What you once saw as timeless, many now see as outdated. The same is true for fine china, silverware, or crystal. Once treasured symbols of elegance, now rarely used in homes, where dining is casual and convenience comes first. What once marked success is now seen as maintenance, fragile, heavy, hard to store. Psychologically, this truth reflects a shift in cultural values. Older generations often saw worth in durability and tradition. Younger generations prioritize flexibility and experience. They're less likely to spend money on items that feel burdensome, high maintenance, or out of sync with modern life. And that disconnect creates a painful realization. What you thought would be valuable may be nearly impossible to sell. William Morris once said, "Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful." Perhaps this is the simplest way to reassess what stays and what no longer serves a purpose. I remember speaking with Linda, a fellow member at the local golf club, just a few months ago. For decades, she had lovingly collected decorative plates, some vintage, some rare, all carefully displayed. She imagined her children or maybe other collectors would cherish them. But when she tried to sell them, she discovered they were worth only a few dollars each at local estate sales. She was disheartened. But instead of clinging to that disappointment, she chose something wiser. She gave one plate to each of her grandchildren, along with a small handwritten note explaining why that particular one meant something to her. Suddenly, what had little monetary value became something priceless, something filled with memory and love. This truth teaches us something vital. Value isn't always measured in dollars. It's measured in meaning. And when you let go of the expectation of profit, you free yourself from the pain of unmet hope. You stop chasing return and instead begin choosing intention, transforming ordinary items into story-filled gifts and letting go of the rest without regret. Number 4. Your memories live in you, not in the things you keep. Even when something has no market value, we still struggle to let it go. And that's because what we're really holding on to isn't the item itself, but the memory it carries. But here's the truth many don't realize until late in life. Memories don't live inside your things. They live inside you. The box of old cards, the closet full of clothes from decades past, the souvenirs from long-forgotten vacations. They feel like anchors to the life you've lived. But in reality, they're only reminders. The laughter, the voices, the emotions, that's what makes a memory. And those live not on dusty shelves, but in your heart and your mind. Psychologically, we're wired to attach meaning to objects. It feels safer to trust a keepsake than to trust that our memory will hold. Keeping physical reminders gives us the comfort of believing we won't forget. But as we age, this attachment can quietly become a trap. We begin clinging to the object itself, as if letting it go means letting go of the past. As if without it, the story disappears. But that's simply not true. What shaped you can't be boxed up. It lives in the way you speak, the values you pass on, the stories you tell, and the love you continue to give. This is especially true with photographs. Many older adults keep boxes, sometimes closets filled with photo albums. We tell ourselves every photo must be saved, that they all matter. But the truth is, we rarely look at them. And when we do, only a few truly spark that deep warmth inside. By choosing the best ones, scanning them, or making a small memory book, you honor your past without drowning in paper. The memories remain, not because the photos exist, but because the moments mattered. Letting go of things doesn't mean erasing people, love, or experience. In fact, clearing away the excess often gives those memories room to breathe. When you finally understand that your life's meaning doesn't live in a box or a closet, you can release the fear of losing yourself in the process of letting go. If you're still watching and this message resonates with you, type 4 in the comments below. It lets me know you're here, and it helps this content reach others who may need it too. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as a part of my channel. Now, let's move on to the final truth, perhaps the most important of all.
Number 5. Decluttering is one of the most loving gifts you can leave behind. The final truth may be the hardest to face, but it's also the most liberating. When you choose to declutter while you are still well, still able, and still in control, you are giving a gift far more valuable than any heirloom: peace. Too many families are left with the heavy task of sorting through decades of belongings after a parent or grandparent has passed. What should be a time of remembrance and closeness turns into days, sometimes months, of exhaustion, guilt, and even conflict. The grief gets tangled in decisions. What should we keep? What should we throw away? What would they have wanted? But when you take that step yourself, when you sort, label, and let go, you free your loved ones from that burden. You give them the space to mourn without being buried beneath mountains of uncertainty. You allow them to honor your life through stories and presence, not through boxes and decisions. This isn't just kindness, it's a quiet act of protection. It preserves harmony. It allows your legacy to be remembered not through things, but through who you were. Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Choosing to declutter while you still can is an act of clarity. It's not about giving up, it's about stepping up. Many elders fear that letting go of possessions will make them seem less important or less remembered. But in truth, it's the opposite. When you lighten your physical load, you send a powerful message to those you love. I care about your future. I don't want to leave you with chaos. I want to leave you with calm. Decluttering, then, is not an act of loss. It's an act of love. A way to say thank you, not just with words, but with action. The less your family has to sort through, the more energy they'll have to truly remember you, in laughter, in photos, in old recipes, in the quiet moments that matter most. When seen in this light, decluttering becomes a final gift, not just of space, but of ease, of thoughtfulness, of love that extends beyond your lifetime and lingers in their lives as a gentle, lasting presence. We've spent this time together reflecting on 5 honest and sometimes uncomfortable truths. Which one spoke to you most? Was it the realization that your children may not want the things you've cherished? Or the quiet reminder that your memories live within you, not in the boxes, the shelves, or the closets? Each truth we explored today is more than just a fact. It's an invitation. An invitation to see your belongings not as extensions of who you are, but as choices. Choices that can protect the peace and happiness of those you love. Decluttering at this stage of life isn't about erasing the past. It's about honoring it in a way that sets you free. It's about creating space for calm, for joy, for connection, while lifting a future burden from your family's shoulders. When you face these truths with honesty, something remarkable happens. You discover a new kind of strength. Not the strength to hold on, but the strength to let go. With love. Thank you for being here with me today. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. Was there a truth that surprised you? Something you're now ready to change? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Your reflections matter. They encourage not just us, but everyone walking this same path. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it too. Your support helps us continue creating honest, heartfelt content designed to inform, to uplift, and to remind you that you're never alone on this journey. Thanks for watching my video, and see you in the next video.